Namaste. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. There's nothing to it now. Just Shinobi got me thinking about Pali Santos. So I figured, hey, let's crank up a piece of wood, some good wood. Good wood for the scene. I'm not quite sure what just happened there. Thank you, StreamYard, for being so interesting. So it's a lovely day. Um, Shinobi, who I like to call Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Shinobi. Toby Obi-Wan Shinobi. I like that. That's so cool, man. It's just such a good ring to it, dude. You should have a Star Wars intro for
You
your
know me.
YouTube. What do you think of that? Having a Star Wars intro, and you should
Well,
put yourself like a Jedi in AI, like with a lightsaber. Seriously, dude, I would do that. Like, I mean, I'm not, I wouldn't do it. I'd get someone else to do it for me because I just can't be asked to use AI. But
wow, yeah. I've got a really old Imperial March like dubstep remix I made like 10 to 15 years ago, and I think I've got another sort of Star Wars themed track I made as well. Maybe I'll try and get them finished. But yeah, man, I've spelt my name with an I, Tobi, because it fits better with Shinobi, because my name's actually spelt Toby. But I remember you saying that with numerology, it would be slightly different. But I've never spelt my name with an I before. But it makes sense for it to be Toby Shinobi. Um, you know, the Y is just a little bit awkward, like why, So yeah.
it would have been an I in the ancient times anyway, Phoenician, what have you. Like the I and the Y are the same letter. So it doesn't make sense that you've got two letters that make the same sound. Right? A Y should be a year, right? Year. And an I should be a E, like a OB. If it was Yobi, then the year. So a Y isn't actually a vowel, it's a consonant. Think about it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like an E as well. The I and the Y both sound like an E. It's Toby.
They can, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not Tobe I or Tobe E, Tobe I. It would be Tobe I. Tobe I. Well, it is Tobias, my name. So that on my birth certificate is Tobias. So it is actually technically spelt with an I. It's funny that, isn't it? My name shortened would actually be Tobi, but I've always spelt it with a Y. It's funny. Never thought
Conventions,
about that.
brother.
Yeah.
Convention. So welcome to everybody in the chat. Hope you guys are having a cool day. We've got Art Tuition. We've got Han Yolanda. Oh, no, sorry. Did I say Hani? Hani. The heck is this? This is the heck with an S called the hex. You can just use an X because it sounds much funkier. We've got the star. We've got Tomru. We've got the rest of the crew. We've got Toby, me and you. You know Toby. I know you. You know me. Me knows Toby. Toby knows me. Toby knows you. We all know each other. So it's really awesome. And we've got riding shotgun here. Garthon, you want to say a word? No, he's got nothing to say. He's just an observer. Whoops. He's speaking with actions. He's going to nibble at my finger now because I put the attention on him he didn't want. He's a cheeky little bugger. His eye's biting me because I put him on the spotlight. He was like, I didn't want to be in the spotlight. So yeah, we just impromptu decided to come and have a little bit of a chat. And there's a lot going on. I mean, we're reaching the peak of the Pluto, right? Pluto retrograde, I believe. Is this the Pluto retrograde peak?
Yeah.
So there's a lot happening in the heavens right now. I think there's a lot of shift and change. There's quite a lot that's happened during this Pluto retrograde. When we look at all the scientists that have disappeared, and those that have been found not alive, and those that have not been found. American scientists, all of them working on really sensitive subjects. And then, of course, the David Wilcock phenomenon, right? What happened? I did a recording which didn't work. There's this guy who's calling himself Jude, pretending to be David Wilcock's friend. Go and take a look at what a fake fraud the guy is, please. Decide for yourselves. I watched him and I was looking for a vomit bucket. I was like, oh, I didn't bring a bucket for the show. I need a bucket. Sometimes you need a bucket. There's nothing worse to me than fake emotion. It makes me feel ill. And the guy was pretending he's so heartbroken. He's so sad. I've lost my friend. We were besties. Me and him were besties. I just came into his life when like his financial matters got like weirded out. I'm like, convenient. That's where when they would plant a shill into your life. And for all we know, the guy could have been part of a counterintelligence movement. He could have been part of a psyops for all we know. He could have been a handler that had been assigned to help David Wilcock become suicidal. And I don't think that he was necessarily, going to do sewage pipes, as I like to call it. I don't think he was going to commit sewage pipes. But I think maybe he was psyoped into it. Who knows? Like maybe his hand did the deed, but maybe he was a puppet being controlled by a puppet master. But anyway, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of change in the air. Politically, there seems to be a lull, which is quite interesting. What do you make of the sudden lull politically? And then, of course, there's this huge war that suddenly started in Iran, right? That we haven't heard much about lately, have we? It was big media, and then suddenly it went quiet. Why?
Yeah, so it's definitely gone quiet, but that's because the World Health Organization have been doing Polaris 2. And now in the news, there's I was going to say cargo ship. What's it called? A cruise ship where there's a couple of people have died and there's a virus, and this lady left the ship and went to an airport and collapsed, and it might have spread. So they can only do like so many things at once. At the beginning of the year, I think they were going to push Nipah virus in January. There are a few cases in India, which the script for that was written in 2024, and it was to do with, I've shown the document on here before. It was about a Nipah virus outbreak, and it was supposed to happen on July the 4th, 2024. So the script for that seemed to have maybe been playing out at the beginning of January, and they decided to go for meningitis. And then here in the UK, that was exercise Pegasus, which we've spoken about before. The whole as above, so below, to do with communication, hacking systems and technology, because Pegasus is all over the place. It's an Israeli startup where they basically hacked whistleblowers' phones and devices and stuff. The whole Pegasus thing was about hacking us, our psyche. We are the device they want to hack, yeah? So they tried that. People didn't really fall for it. And then there was Iran. That shook things up. And then that seems to have quietened down now, although it has on the news and stuff. We don't really know unless you know people in Iran. But what seems to be happening now is that they've just done Polaris 2. And of course, Polaris is the pole star, which is to do with our center, the axis mundi. All of these psyops are all to do with getting us away from our center. You have the north, east, south, west. The news is a noose, which ties in with psyops. It's basically to rip us apart from our center, take us left, take us right, up, down, whatever, as long as we're not centered. So Polaris 2 has just happened, and then now there seems to be a virus outbreak. Also, there seems to be Lyme disease on the radar as well, because farmers in loads of countries have found these ticks, which have been dropped off in boxes, it seems. And there is actually a compound there's a certain thing that these ticks give. I need to find out. But basically, when you get bitten by these genetically modified ticks, it basically puts you off or makes you allergic to eating red meat. So the cure for Lyme disease is sunlight. Now, who wants to block out the sun? Bill Gates, who's been buying up as much farmland as possible. Bill Gates, who's been genetically modifying ticks. Bill Gates. There's a common thread here. Who's part of the World Health Organization and Polaris? Bill Gates. So he's been kind of lurking in the shadows for a while, but it seems like he's starting to kind of come up to the surface now, come out of the shadows. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. The Iran war was the main thing, but I think that perhaps they're going to try pushing some kind of virus now. Yeah, I haven't actually read Polaris 2. I did look up Polaris 1. And what I found interesting with Polaris in my research is that Polaris is one of the X-Men, and her powers were to do with magnetism, because at the end of the day, all these psyops are to do with magnetism and basically taking us away from our center. During 2020, people getting brain fog, with the prefrontal cortex here using magnets, it can give you brain fog and basically detach you from source or God, and basically it makes you more okay with immigration and stuff. There are experiments done in 2015, which people can look up. 2015 magnetism experiment, detaching people from God. They did that experiment. So I mean, I think that perhaps 6G is supposed to be rolled out in 2028, and I think they're gonna be doing it sooner, because every time there's a new frequency, there seems to be illness or chaos or discord. And I think that perhaps there seems to be more and more people, I'm not going to say being awake, but becoming aware of what's going on, not falling for the psyops. The meningitis outbreak in the UK is a really good example of that. That I think that they might try and amp up the frequency, but this is so led. It's all so led. It's not about creating a virus or a frequency so we all get sick. It's about hacking us. It's about hacking a human and tapping into our psyche so that we can be programmable beings. Basically, we might not need technology. We might not need nanoparticles, machines to latch on to us to be able to control us. DARPA have done experiments where they can remote control animals via signals. But I think that the end game is that they want to basically be able to control and manipulate us even more than they are now. So people won't want AI. They won't want all this. They basically need a fail safe, and I think they're trying to see how they can hack us. Basically, it's interesting with the ticks as well, because ticks are like, they suck our blood. This is a vampire system. These are vampires. Bill Gates is a vampire.
Another thing about ticks is that they survive in sandy areas where there isn't a particularly good ecosystem, right? Like near to beaches where it's sandy, and they don't they don't generally survive as well in the more lush areas where the soil is good. So when you damage the soil profile, you actually make it easier for the ticks to take over, because there are other predators that eat the ticks. Think about that. And when you diminish the ecosystem potential and remove many of the parts of the biosphere, creatures like ticks are going to become more abundant. So it's a no-brainer if you're planning to damage the environment to work on ticks. And the arm prick experiment of 2020 has been shown there are a lot of nanotech bits in them, and there are a lot of nanotech bits floating around in the air. And we're all aware of this. So there has been a steady invasion with all of the technology that they've worked out over the last 20 years with the 2020-45.com program, which was well funded by the, you know, by the um, by the big 500 corporations, and by the top of the big 500 corporations, right? And this basically resulted in, you know, in a lot of people becoming very ill because their bodies were trying to remove, or their immune systems were reacting to the nanotechnology. I think this is why a lot of people have been like tapping out, because they haven't refined the technology yet, right? They've worked on the technology. Sure, they've been stealing children for a long time, right? 8 million per year. And probably a good number of million of those children end up in underground facilities. They get bought and sold on the black market. And they're probably great test subjects, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm sure they've used tens of millions of children for their nefarious tests, because they have to integrate the technology with the DNA of a human. This is no small thing. You need millions and millions of tries and tests, and every human being, is what they don't tell us, every human being is a little bit different. We don't all have the same biochemical makeup. We don't all have the same resistance. We don't all have the same systems. In fact, humans are, there's an incredible amount of diversity within the humans. And this is why the idea of allopathic medicine is a bit of a joke, right? One medicine that fits all. Come on, man. Like, that one medicine might work for 5% of the 10% of the population, 15%, but the rest of the population are probably going to have more adverse reactions to that one medicine. And so they've been aware of this for a long time. And I think when they do their little psyop experiments of re-engineering our physical form, they've realized that this isn't something that's going to go down so easily. Why do you think people don't have chips in their heads abundantly yet? Because they're not ready to roll them out. If they were, it would have been rolled out already. But if they start sticking chips in people's heads and people start dropping like flies, then the rest of the population will be, whoa, take that off the market. We'll never want that again. Once it's like if you go to a restaurant and somebody serves you a bowl of soup with a fly in it, are you ever going to go back to that restaurant and order a bowl of soup again? Or are you just like going to avoid that restaurant for good, because you'll be like, the memory of that fly in your soup is enough to put you off. Hey, dear brother Howard, how are you doing? I hope you're good, man. Hope you're well. Hope you
Well,
guys are.
perhaps they do have the technology. This is a thought. Perhaps they do have the technology, but with a vampire, you need to let it in. They can't just force this stuff upon us. Like, they're trying, like, trickle by trickle by trickle. Like, I think that perhaps they do have the technology, because they're way ahead of what we see, what we use, like us peasants. And but they need us to accept it. And how would we accept it? How would we take it? Like, AI wombs, artificial wombs, why would we want that? Okay, first you've got to mess up women's ovaries, women's wombs. Yeah, that's the first step to that. And what I believe they're trying to do is they're just trying to make this world as unbearable to live in as possible, or that before matter, like in our psyche and our minds, they're trying to make us think that this realm is a prison, that this realm is awful, like by releasing all these tips and stuff, by buying up farmland, making rent prices go up, messing with the economy. All of these things they do, poisoning our food, poisoning our water, it's not natural, but they want us to think that it is natural. The world's overpopulated, there's too many humans, there's no future, climate change, this, that, end times, it's the end of the world. They have to do so much. And the point is that we accept this AI, this artificial, to help us see a better reality, so-called. Like, this is what my book is about, basically. It's basically this AI timeline way in the future, and that how this technology feeds off people, and people there are these little points in the city where you can go up and you can plug yourself into this technology, and this technology feeds off you. And what it does is it drains you, much like blue light in phone screens actually already does. You're on it for ages, not doing much, not using much energy, but you're drained. Where is your light going? Where's your energy? Where's your chi going? I believe that they have this technology already now, but in the future, like a dark future, one I hope we don't go to, um, I think that rather than us, rather than us benefiting from machine, it's the machine benefiting from us. And I think that we need to accept this bleak future. But first, they need to fuck with us in a lot of ways. So perhaps they already have this technology, and the only thing left is for us to want it and accept it and bring it into us. You know, maybe this is what all these films are. Showing us this technology, this future and stuff. So we're like, oh, actually, okay, that's not so bad. Or maybe it'd be okay to have an implant, because then it would just make my life easier, because this world is so flawed and stuff. You know, there's all kinds of warped narratives that they try to implant in people's psyche. You know.
You know, what you just said now is something that's quite telling. And I've shown people this before, but I really want to impress upon people that don't know. Sure, yeah, we've got the choir with us. Welcome, choir. We're preaching to the choir. It's a bit silly to preach to the choir, but we're only preaching to the choir because we know that there will be non-choir people coming in. Yeah, there was somebody earlier going like, "What is this?" She's the one we wanna give her a way to like look at the world and think, yeah, what is going on? What do I think I know? So what do we got, yeah? Let's look at the manifesto of the 2045.com, which is a site everybody should be aware of. And let's look at the interesting part of it, right? My favorite part of the manifesto is to create programs for television, radio, and internet, right? Computer games and movies, right? Programs for television, radio, and internet, to hold forums, conferences, congresses, and exhibitions, and to establish awards, to produce books, movies, and computer games, with the view of raising the profile and the initiative of spreading these toxic, poisonous ideas. So anybody that says, oh, yeah, but it's just because we're at this time in our lives and this is what's going on Earth, so naturally people are just going to make films about these topics because this is what people are going to want to say and believe. No, it is 100% by design. And those that are creating the technology have invested lots of money into making films, computer games, series that are sci-fi, that are about making us feel comfortable with the idea of this transhumanist agenda that they are moving us towards. And it's not coincidence. It's 150,000% by design. And there it is in their own bloody manifesto. So if any of you encounter any people trying to say, yeah, but you know, I think you guys it's conspiracy theory because, you know, this is what's going on Earth. Naturally, our films are going to be about AI because AI is all around us. No, AI is all around us because they made the films about AI, because they made the series about AI, because they've invested all the money into raising the profile of AI and transhumanism. And that's why it's all around us. Otherwise, we would not have accepted it. We would have been unsure about it. I want us to go right back to the idea of Terminator, right? Go back to the good old days when they still made real films with real explosions. It wasn't just dots on a screen that looked like an explosion. It was a real, somebody had to like go and do some pyrotechnics, you know, and they had to blow up real cars. Can you imagine the old days when they made films? They had to blow up real cars, real airplanes. It was a big deal, man. And now they just do it on a computer screen. But right there, we've got this idea of, you know, AI systems. And it's not a new idea, right? We've been aware of the dangers of AI for a long time. Isn't it interesting? There have been recent trends where which experts have recently said we are in a what are the words that we're reaching the critical point, right? Where AI is now a threat, but is a huge potential threat to humanity. Have you seen these conferences that were had in the House, in not the House of Commons, in the Americans? Was it the Senate? Was it Senate hearing, or was it the courts, the big courts? You know, the congressional hearing, either Senate hearings or congressional hearings. Have you seen any of these? What do you make of it?
No, I haven't heard of that. I did see a video of King Charles with Trump recently, and Trump's kids out in the garden with VR headsets on, walking around like this, which looked pretty dystopian. But yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I haven't heard any of those. What were they about?
I'm trying to actually find some receipts for it. In early 2026, a significant number of AI researchers and industry philosophers warned. Okay, let's share this one. I don't know what this is. I'm going to read it. We're all going to see what it is together. I'm just Googling quickly. So, a significant number of prominent AI researchers, industry leaders, and philosophers have warned that artificial superintelligence and advanced artificial general intelligence possesses an existential threat to humanity, right? And I mean, they've concocted all sorts of weird notions of the percentages of things going wrong, and they're speaking about very high relevant numbers, right? And people like Jeffrey Hinton, often called the godfather of AI, has continued to warn that superintelligence, AI could deceive humans, act to ensure its own survival, and has a 10 to 20% chance of destroying humanity. And these aren't just random conspiracy theorists or random people coming up with notions. These are the people that have worked on the AI more than anybody else, right? These are the people that know better than us, better than you, better than me. These are the people that worked on the framework that came up with the very ideas that have created the AI themselves and have watched it evolve from the beginning and can see the general trends. Not people like us that heard about it on the news and saw people using AI and have read articles about it. People who've looked at the code, have been instrumental in creating the code. And so when these people are making these warnings, Joshua Bengwai, award winner, recently chaired the International AI Safety Report, which outlined how advanced AI systems are learning to deceive testers and hide their true capabilities. Sam Altman, he's OpenAI, and Demis Hassabis.
Sam Altman has a baby, and he's openly said that he wouldn't know what he'd do without ChatGPT to bring up his baby.
Well, this is what I'm saying. And even these people are acknowledging the dangers. They're flaunting it in front of us. In other words, what they're doing is they're telling us that they are setting up AI systems to control everything on Earth, and they're letting us know that there's a big chance that things are going to go tits up. Just in case half the world's population ceases to be in the future, at least you can't blame us because we warned you. Yeah, but you're the guys who created this infrastructure and put it there. Yeah, I know, but we did it because you wanted us to, and we warned you in the media that it's dangerous, but you guys wanted it. You didn't stop it, right? Can you see what they're doing? They're protecting their own butts because they know that they've created an evil monster and that evil monster is dangerous. And our children are going to inherit a world owned by an evil monster where our children will own nothing, but they will be happy. Isn't that the plan? So, the technology is out of control. Nobody's really in charge. We've discovered the AIs are basically either the people programming the AIs have programmed backstage protocols that the people playing with the AIs aren't aware of, right? The original creators, or the AIs themselves are developing. I don't think it makes much of a difference. I think that what we can take away from this is that they are dangerous. And they're going to be running our water supplies. They're going to be controlling our food distribution. They're going to be controlling our economies. They're going to maybe even be in important strategic positions with regards to legislation. They are going to be controlling our police officers running around with fire weapons, right? Police officers, robotic, AI controlled. Let's face it, California has already got the laws in place. A lot of countries have been setting up the laws to be in place. They're starting to roll them out. This is a real threat to humanity. The military is becoming AI. What would it be like once the military exists of hundreds of thousands of AI robots that are controlled by a central AI processing system? What happens when that system decides that humanity is the actual threat and that they need to be culled and controlled? Is the Terminator film really that much of a jump from the reality we're actually in? And let's not forget that they actually they've even named the AI systems that manages national security and information after the same AI system that caused about the end of the world in the film Terminator. I don't think that's by accident. What do you think of all of that? They're sending us messages, aren't they?
The first film came out in 1984. That's a very profound date. Draw well. With the etymology of Terminator, you have termin, sounds like turning, sounds like a spiral, or like term, like to do with time, like an age, and then you have ater, like as in eating. So the name Terminator, you have eating spiral, which represents the wisdom. So that's what machines do. They just destroy wisdom. They eat it. This is the ape sphere, the eating of Sophia. And Terminator, the term, the turning is also mercurial too, like communication. So the name is just the eating of this wisdom of communication by this artificial presence. And in a little bit, I'd love to talk about Sedna, who's a dwarf planet, because her story sounds very interesting. Like, to me, it was the story of Sophia was coming up. Also Hecate. Somebody mentioned what the heck is this earlier. I was going to say we're going to be talking about Hecate later, so stay tuned. Because this energy at the moment that we're in, this Sedna trine, it's like a triple conjunction. There's Uranus in Gemini at 0 to 1 degrees. Sedna is in 0 to 1 degrees of Gemini as well. And it's basically, Sedna is like the depths of the ocean. So we're talking about the heavens. We're talking about, perhaps we can talk about what the heavens are as well, because the heavens is to do with space, and there's a lot going on to alter space, to alter our perception of the heavens. Another word could be mind as well. So I think that my doorbell has just gone, so it's really distracted me. I'm just going to go answer that, but I just want to let people. I'm going to get back to Transformers in a second after you've spoken for a bit. But yeah, I just want to let people know that in a little bit be talking about the planets as well, and like where we're in at the moment. I need to get this doorbell because it keeps ringing it.
They probably come to sell you something, brother. These doorbells. Ay. You can't live with them. You can't live without them. You know, the whole Sedna story is quite interesting. And so, you know, that to me is something that I do. So Sedna is a very new planet. I don't know, how many of you people in the chat are up to date with Sedna? How much do you know about them? I don't know much about Sedna. What I do know is that it was discovered, I think, in 2002 by this guy, Mike Brown. He's a astronomer, and he's the guy who named it Sedna. So yeah, he's the guy who named Sedna after an Inuit goddess. I don't know why he chose to name Sedna after an Inuit goddess of the sea, who is believed to live at the bottom of the cold Arctic Ocean. And I find it interesting that these astronomers are you know, using these mythos. Oh yeah, so it was discovered on November the 14th of 2003. And it's very tiny, by the way. Do they say here the size of it? I believe it's like only 1,000 kilometers big. Let me check that. How big is Sedna? I think it's like 1,000 kilometers. Yeah.
I think that, like, who knows, really? Like,
No, I
who's to
mean
say?
this is what they say. The
Yeah,
people that have named it.
because Pluto's been demoted recently. It was a planet, but now it's just a dwarf planet. Sedna's also an icy dwarf planet too. But I mean, in school, they're not counting Pluto as a planet anymore, because what does Pluto represent? It represents the subconscious mind, the depths. They don't want children learning about Pluto or the depths or the subconscious mind, because that's where they do their, manipulation. So I think to say the size of the planet, I mean, they could say that, but like, I mean, is it really small? It is really, really far away, but how they measure the distance, who knows? I mean, yeah, it's very interesting that its orbit is 11,400 years to go around the whole zodiac. The because the younger Dryas was about 11,400 years ago, and the fall of Sophia, it took her about 11,000 years also to go through the aeons, I believe. So that number's been popping up quite a lot for me recently. 11,000 years, to do with like the depth being buried, something emerging, like water emerging. So I find that really interesting. But the name Sedna too is interesting, because if you get rid of all the consonants, you have Ia. Thank you. Somebody just came to check our front door, our fire door. So yeah, Sedna, you have Ia, but then also you have cDNA, because DNA is buried, much like Sedna's to do with the depths of the oceans. And the reason I bring up Sophia and Hecate is because people know, if they've been here for a while, I like to find the common thread between things, the essence. And the story of Sedna is that she refused to marry somebody. So her father basically threw her off the boat or whatever. And she tried hanging onto the boat, and he cut off her fingers. They turned into like sea animals. But anyway, she went to the depths of the oceans, and she wanted to marry a dog. The reason I bring out Hecate is because on ancient coins, there's Hecate and Anubis on the same coin. Anubis being a black dog, Hecate being associated with black dogs. The black dog representing the underworld or the abyss, like the depths of the oceans. And also, there's a story here of if we would, because Sedna's also related to like the like plasma or like antimatter, the hidden, the unseen, which is the feminine, the subconscious. So it's interesting. We're talking about AI and all this like programming and stuff. I think that way we kind of counter this is by acknowledging this the unseen, which is like the 99%, which is hidden, that we can't see but we can feel. That's what the feminine is, to feel. Whereas there's a lot of thinking and seeing, and quantitative, but really the quality is in the feeling. And I think that we can draw this, like the heavens are like way up high, like this conjunction is of Sedna is with Uranus in Gemini, and Uranus, I believe, is to do with like the electricity or like Jupiter's expansion, but Uranus is to do with like air or like expansion, I believe, as well. So what's interesting is that you have Sedna, like the depths, right at the bottom of the ocean, the abyss, and then you have it conjunct with Uranus in Gemini, which is communication. So in this time we're in now, there seems to be a lot of signals for us to be able to communicate easier with our depths, the well inside us all, and also the heavens above, as within, so without. So yeah, I've got lots of notes on Sedna, and let me just find them a second. But yeah, like Sedna's to do with like healing the silenced voice, reclaiming intuition, of course, like the depths of the oceans, the well which is inside all of us, also like surrendering to that, like surrendering and not being restricted, like I guess the chaos of like the feminine or like waters or the depths, whatever, is more of like the surrendering and just letting things come up, letting things go. And also to do with like bridging worlds as well. This came up in my notes, to do with tapping into the depths of the oceans. It's also to do with like defrosting any frozen consciousness. So the reason Hecate came to my mind is because Hecate is to do with the underdog, and the kind of outcast or whatever. And so is Sedna, because Sedna is to do with the fallen, literally falling into the depths of the ocean, by her father, the masculine, severing her fingers, her hand. So she fell into the depths because she refused to go into a forced marriage. So it's very powerful, divine feminine energy conjunct with Uranus. And I don't know much about Uranus, but it's to do with electricity, I believe, like expansion of the mind, maybe.
Yeah, the whole story with the Sedna is really interesting. And it makes me wonder why. Well, we know that this guy, right, Michael Brown of Caltech, he was not an occultist. He's not a mythologist. He's not an esoterist. He doesn't understand spiritual sciences. That's not his gig. He's an astronomer that's empowered by the Astronomical Society, and maybe he's in some other clubs and societies, right? Maybe he was hoping to get knighted because of his great astronomical work. We're talking about somebody who's part of the establishment. So this guy named this planet in November of 2003 when he discovered it, right, at the Palomar Observatory. and he decided that the name would be given. So it makes me wonder who had fed this guy the information and why this guy was choosing this name. And there are like different versions of the story. The version with the dog might be quite an old story version. I think there are other versions in Iceland as well, where there's another interesting version where there's the bird, the bird, the bird man. Now that anthropologists say that that's a more recent version, possibly, although they don't know. It doesn't make sense that a birdman version of the story is more recent because that's like very ancient shamanic cosmology, right? Which hasn't been around in a long time. And that story says that she had been kidnapped by the birdman and tortured. And her father had rescued her and was trying to escape. And the storm got so bad that, being afraid for his life, he threw her overboard. Then the other story was that she chose to marry the dog, right? Which is Anima's connection. And big love and blessings to all of you in the chat, by the way. I see we've had every day here. Big love. I hope you're well. And everybody else that has been joining. Carly, big love, dear Carly. How are you guys doing? How are you on your end? I hope you're well. And Tamara, or Tama, sorry. Tamal, sorry. No, it's not an L, it's a one. Tama 1929. Big love and big blessings to you. I hope you guys are all thriving and having an absolutely great day. But yeah, so why would this little planet, or whatever we're going to call it, I don't think it matters what we call it. To me, these are just words that astronomers made up anyway. They're heavenly bodies, right? Let's just look at them like
could
this.
There be a reason? Could there be a reason why it's named?
This is what I'm saying.
Not for us.
This is what I'm.
Yeah.
I think it's part of a psyop. I think they've named it as part of a psyop. This is just what my gut says to me, because it was named in 2003. Maybe the reason, maybe they are trying to show us something in the cosmic cycle of events, right? Like, if you don't do what you're told, you're going to go into the ocean, down at the bottom of the ocean. You're going to be forgotten. And nothing will be able to save you. You better marry the idea of AI. If you don't get married, Ori, don't mess with Henry. Stop it now. Oh gosh, I got a little Pekingese trying to hump. Go deal with him. Go deal with him. Tell him to stop. He's humping Indigo, and Ori's getting angry because he's like, "How dare you hump her?" A little tiny little Pekingese trying to hump a golden retriever, and a Malamute deciding that this isn't on. It's really funny when you think about the story that's going on in this room. But so yeah, I think like there might be a subtle suggestion here, and that because the myth has got two different elements, the one has got to do with the dog, the one's got to do with the Birdman, and there's a sort of union between the Birdman and the dog, I think, in the story, in the fundamentals of the story. And it seems to me that it could be suggesting that we are now at this point of choosing, and we're in a rough ocean, and those of us that don't marry AI, we're going to get thrown overboard. It's almost like a warning to humanity. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this could be why the powers that be would choose this name now for Sedna? Because they've obviously done it for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting that I know it's a cycle, I guess, but Pluto is going to be frozen over or something by 2030, and it's just that date, 2030. Why not 2029, 2031? 2030 seems to be a great reset. And Pluto is also a dwarf planet, cold, frozen planet, very far away. It seems that the subconscious is always so far away. Isn't that interesting? Like, why is the subconscious related to frozen planets? And why is it so far away from us? I think that is a psyop. I think that is a psyop that potentially that's why this planet's called Sedna. Because, I mean, yeah, man, I don't know. It's interesting that Pluto's going to be frozen by 2030 for sure, and that Sedna's frozen. I mean, if the story is like being thrown overboard, like, I mean, people do need to learn to be comfortable with being in water. They need to be comfortable with. I think that's necessary. I think people need to be thrown overboard. And what I mean by that is people in their little boats are too safe. They're too safe. They're scared. They're afraid of the water. What's water? Emotions. They're afraid of their emotions. There's a lot that people do to suppress their emotions. If you think about the amount of people that are on pharmaceuticals, which are issues related to the emotional body, they'd rather inject themselves or fill themselves with petrochemicals than confront their emotions. So I think people being thrown overboard, people need to learn to swim. Yeah, there's a brilliant Tool song about that. What's it called? Is it Anima? Anyway, there's a good there's some really good Tool lyrics about learning to swim. I'll try and
Did you
remember.
say enema?
I think
Enema.
so, but it's not spelled how you think it is. Let me
Okay.
find out.
The idea of calling a track enema is quite funny if you think about it. Like, you all need one massive enema.
No,
Humanity, you need an enema.
Yeah, so basically the song it's spelled AE, like the Aether, but it's spelled AENEMA. And so some say the end is near, some say we'll see Armageddon soon. I certainly hope we will. I could sure use a vacation from this bullshit 3-ring circus sideshow of freaks. Here in this hopeless fucking hole we call LA, the only way to fix it is to flush it all away. Any fucking time, any fucking day. Learn to swim. I'll see you down in Arizona Bay. Yeah, brilliant band. If anyone hasn't heard Tool, go check them out. But yeah, I think that perhaps I think that there's power in the water, in the depths of the oceans, and I think that perhaps people are too comfortable in their little boats, and it's not them sailing their little boats. It's the sailor is the sailor. We're being given a story, which is the ark that we think is our own boat, but really we're following other people's narratives. If we dive into the waters, like if we go into the abyss, into the dark, the deep dark, that's where we'll find our own light. And the thing is, in the dark, there's no false light to steer you one way or the other. That is where, when you stare into the abyss, what's staring back is you. It's your inner core. Yeah, I'll say that's the Iron Soft.
I'd love to just add to what you're saying. We're floating in our boats, right? In the currents of the currency, controlled by the ships of citizenship, and moving along the ways of the banks, right? And our boats are our votes, right? The B and the V is interchangeable in all those old language. So we're in our votes. We're traveling in our votes with our certificate, our birth from the ship, birth certificate, right? In our ships, in our little boats with our votes. And so, the narrative that you're saying has actually got a lot of, but please don't let me stop you. Carry on, brother.
No, I think I was roundabouts done. Yeah, I was roundabouts done. What was that you were going to show on the screen a minute ago?
Oh, I did. It was what you were saying.
Oh,
you were talking about 2030. This is the 2030. So this is the 2045.com. This is the transhumanist project that's been running for like 2 decades. And 2030 was when they planned to have an avatar with artificial brain in which a human personality is transferred at the end of one's life. That's their goal, 2030. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Well, it's interesting, like with the A, B, C, D, because the A is the first step, the one. The B is the second step, like to be. Can you zoom in a little bit so I can read what it says? An avatar in which a human brain is transplanted at the end of one's life. So an avatar which a human brain is transplanted, and so basically they want us being the B, they want us to basically be brainless clones, and they've MIT are making brainless clones without a brain, but a lot of humanity seem to be brainless too. So it seems step B they're on, and then 2030, an avatar with an artificial brain in which a human personality is transferred at the end of one's life. So consciousness transferring. You can so see is like to see the consciousness transferring. It doesn't necessarily have to be people literally transferring their consciousness to another body. It can be another consciousness transferring to our body. This is the psyche. So by 2030, 2035, they just want to alter our perception of reality and perhaps hook up other beings to us. This could be, this is like a this or that. Let's use snake eyes to look at this, that it could be us transferring to machines. That's the narrative. That's what they want us to think. But most likely it's other beings, off-world beings, or beyond the what we're allowed to access in this realm, beings, to hook themselves up to us, to the human vessel. And that is 2030 to 2035, the C. And that will change our perception of reality, because this ties into the bridge between the subconscious and conscious mind. Because if we don't have access to our subconscious, we're easily more programmable. And there's a slight delay, I think, in how we process information. If they're able to hijack this, we have parasites called the elite in the world. Lots of people have parasites in them as well. There are spiritual parasites too, and I think that they want to get into us. There's something special about the human, and I think that they want to use us as vessels. And this is what the ape sphere is, I believe. First, they need to eat Sophia. They have to bury our spark, bury our wisdom, so that we become what seems soulless drones, trance humans in a trance, sleepwalking, so that there's another layer of dreaming. So we're not conscious of this dream, we're in another dream, sleepwalking. And then these entities can latch onto us and live vicariously through us. Aidan mentioned Vicarious, another brilliant Tool song. That's in the video. It shows that parasites, living vicariously through us. That's what it's about. So I love to look at things as maybe this way, maybe that way. They're talking about us transferring our consciousness to machines, but there's always another way. This is a spiritual thing that's going on. It's matter, yes, but that's the 1%. Always remember that matter is the 1%. The matter is what matters the least. It's a leverage. It's the knowledge that you can see, that you can read and touch, that you can see. But we need to step beyond the matter and see what's going on, outside of matter, because that will come into matter in a future timeline, even just in a few years, But they give us these stories, these narratives. People will be like, oh, this is great, this AI, we can transfer consciousness, we can heal paraplegics, all of this. That's one story, but that is not what's going on. And we know that. We saw what happened in 2020. We were told it came from a bat to a human. Oh, no, it didn't. It came from a lab. No, it didn't. It's beyond that. It's spiritual warfare that we're in.
I'm just showing here that the 2045 program is still alive and kicking. only Elon Musk is now the one holding the keys. It's not a coincidence that in May, right, of 2026, this last week to 2 weeks in April, Musk has been once again discussing his visions. And his visions are also 2045. 2045 is that big date that Musk is planning to have superabundance on the planet. I don't think it's a coincidence that Musk is building an off world AI system in space, apparently, is what they say, right? In order to be able to generate superabundance on Earth and fix society. Like, and that the time frame happens to be 2045, all these convergent time frames, with Elon Musk being the one who's developed the neuro implant, which is really what 2045 was a big. I mean, they did spend a lot of money researching how to integrate technology with the human brain so they could transfer memory and consciousness. And I don't think they're actually transferring consciousness. I think they're transferring an imprint of who we were when they took the imprint. And so they're making a photocopy, if you will, maybe not a photocopy, but a digital copy of you. And then installing that digital copy of you into a machine. And then you, dumbass enough to believe that that means that you're going to live on. I mean, come on. Yeah, you are not going to live on. The copy of you will. Only who will have the proprietary rights to that copy of you, right? Who will own that rights? You will think it's you, but it's a very interesting idea. But the fact that Elon Musk has been doing all this AI promotion and building these AI systems, are you talking, Agatha?
You there, Franklin? Okay, I think I think he it's probably knocked something over because his camera's frozen. So what's interesting about memory and smart dust is that smart dust is actually called MEMS, MEMS, smart dust. Yeah, microscopic microelectromechanical systems. So microscopic microelectromechanical systems, MEMS. Okay, so you can go check that up. This smart dust technology is going to be used for holograms, which ties into Sam Altman and OpenAI working with Apple. They want to bring out a new screenless phone, which will be basically a wearable, which links to, oh God, what's his name? The health secretary in America, JFK or RFK. Yeah, it's saying that he wants everybody in America to have wearables. These wearables or this screenless phone will have hologram technology, and for that 6G is needed, and also smart dust. And smart dust is powered by ambient light. And I checked, and our aura, our biofield, is ambient light. So this proves that this technology is going to be powered by us. And people are probably going to be ill, sick. They're going to feel drained because this energy does not belong here. This kind of this. Or perhaps it could be in some kind of timeline, but not this one, because there are these people, these psychopaths who are these technocrats, trillionaires, billionaires. They don't care about our health. They'll say it's to help sick people and stuff, but when there's new technologies, people get sick. And they don't care who gets sick. If you look at the rates of cancer, they're not going down, they're going up. And this relates heavily to technology and frequencies. Also, of course, what's in clothing, food and water too. But it's very interesting that smart dust is called MEMS, and that this whole kind of this whole reset is to do with memory, our collective memory. So yeah, Franklin, you there? Your camera's a little blurry, and it wasn't before.
Oh, is my camera blurred?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Let me check all the set camera. It should be camera 180p. So you're saying the camera is blurry, right? Switch internet connections. I've had problem with my one, but I'll here, and it will already blink out.
Sure. Right, just while he's sorting that out, astrologically wise, there's a so
Are you
Mars
there?
is. I'm here. Yep.
Okay, good. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a little bit blurry still, but no issue.
I wonder if that's StreamYard, because
Right.
I've got two different internet connections and they should both be streaming, and I'm streaming 1080p with a 4K camera, so it should be working pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother. Sorry, you were busy saying.
No, I just wanted to make the well, yeah, I was just starting to say about Aries being Mars being at 18 degrees Aries at the moment, and Jupiter being 19 degrees Cancer, and that Mars being in Aries that's where it's kind of happiest, and that's to do with action. And Jupiter being in Cancer being related to feeling and emotions and water, and Jupiter to being with expansion, that it kind of fits into this story of Sedna being at the bottom of the ocean and it being conjunct with Uranus, and that Jupiter is in Cancer, it's expanding into the water, and that Mars is in Aries, which is to do with action. So it ties into what we were talking about earlier with being thrown off the boat or jumping off the boat, or just sort of, if you want to look at it as like this artificial, which is opposing the feminine, the water, because there's nothing divine feminine about AI, artificial. It's the shadow of the masculine, and it's no coincidence that what's happening in Iran. I listened to a podcast the other day, and apparently, like so many hospitals and schools and stuff have been destroyed there, and that in Iran they have a lot of women are very highly educated in science, and I think that's dangerous. You can't have women being in high places, high positions of science, because I believe that they probably be bringing up the more kind of caring, emotional side of it. Whereas if you look at most of the top people, not that they are scientists, but like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, they're all dudes. They're all dudes. And I think that Iranians remember the Black Dragon. They remember Tiamat. Which, as far as I concerned, this Black Dragon, their lineage represents the plasma, the unseen, the subconscious, the depths, the deep, and they remember that. So you have this emergence of AI at the same time as wiping out this beautiful race of people, and they're being demonized, called this and called that. So I've sensed for a long time this kind of war between this kind of artificial and our nature, like this kind of masculine trying to suppress this feminine more. And the thing is, like, because I view the masculine and feminine as just energies, not men or not women. When we're talking about Sedna being the feminine, being in some of the stories pushed down into the water, having her hands cut off into the deep. The funny thing about that is that when we're pushed down into our depths, into our core of our psyche, when we're pushed back into the subconscious, when we're forced to go into through the waters, that's where we find our power. So all of this stuff that's going on at the moment, I do not believe it's necessary. I condemn anyone that says it is necessary. And there are people in spiritual communities that say evil is necessary for good to emerge from it. Good can emerge from darkness. That's true. But what I see happening in the world at the moment with what's going on in Iran, this emergence of AI, all these viruses they're pushing, this, that, all of this stuff, people have been forced to, some people are following the white light still blindly, this AI, artificial white light. But I think a lot of people are deciding to be like, no, I'm not going that way anymore. I'm not going to stay in this boat. And they've decided to jump overboard or turn around and go inwards through the waters into the depths of the water. We've been forced into a corner. That in this darkness, in this deeps, in the depths of this ocean, of this water, that's where we find our power. So we're at a kind of crossroads of humanity now. We're at a crux, and it's like the story of Christ dying on the cross. Dying just means to change, transform. The cross, this year is a cross. We're at like a crossroads of a crossroads of a crossroads. And right now, we can decide whether to follow blindly or to jump overboard and go into the depths and find our core, find our spark, which is in water. It's literally through structured water. It's in water that our DNA, that our spark is. So, it's a tricky time at the moment. There's a lot going on, but the reason this 2045 thing, it's probably been there for a while, but they wanted us to be programmable, obedient robots by now, but we're not, and we never will be, because the story of Ahriman forcing its way out of the womb of cosmic infinite time, which is a Zervan, Ahura Mazda always wins. The good one always wins. But right now, the evil is trying to force its way into the world, and more evil is trying to force its way through us. It wants to use us as vessels, be that just by our minds or our bodies or our soul, to bring evil into this world, to want to do evil, to call people, to be okay with war, to be okay with this, to be okay with pedophilia. They're trying to just make the Overton window so wide that when they bring in whatever they're going to bring in, we just accept it, because that's what the end game is, for us to accept this false reality, because really the reality we're in is so flawed. Except it's not. We're being made to condition that it's flawed. But this is all going to backfire on the elite, the parasites. They're forcing us into a corner to go, which is really where we find our power, where a lot of us have been ignoring our depths, the well inside us all. And I think that it's a beautiful thing when people find this power within themselves, because what else can you do? What else can you do? There's no point in like being angry, shouting. Like when we go inwards, when we start finding our own frequency, our own vibration, that's powerful, and that ripples out through the whole of reality and beyond, whatever. The infinite potential inside all of us, and that's been ignited now, that spark inside us. So yeah, man, a lot going on, but it's really like what's the word? Like warriors are being created at the moment. Warriors. You have people worrying, like warriors, worrying. People have like, worrying what's going to happen in the future. But then also you have spiritual warriors being created, which will hold the fort, and that will hopefully help guide each other to a future timeline which doesn't involve being enslaved by AI, which is where they want us.
It's worth mentioning. So to David Wolf a little bit now. Coincidence, David Wolcott decided to go into real estate, and rest in peace. This vomit, slippery carrier now into my home by the of his
Franklin,
right?
Franklin, your camera's a little bit blurry, but also I'm not sure if it's just me, so anyone in the chat let us know, but also your mic's glitching a little bit too.
Could it be your download?
Is it me?
This is what I'm thinking. Welcome, Gaz. Welcome, chat. In the chat, is my. I am breaking up a little bit. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna back to my other internet connection. This should be happening. Very weird. So it'll be just a second, and it will refresh in about 10 seconds.
Awesome. Cool. I'll just wait for him to hopefully sort
there
that out.
There we go. So that should be back on track. Yeah. Okay. That's very strange because the speed on the other connection is showing 170 download and 150 megabytes per second upload and 5 millisecond ping. So I don't understand why this is happening. It's very strange. But yeah, so David Wilcock, his suicide, we need to really, that sewage pipes adventure doesn't add up. He was speaking out repeatedly about these missing scientists, right? And he was actually one of the people that was bringing a lot of attention to something that people didn't really notice or know or pay much attention to. But because of his work in the UFO field, and many of these scientists were people that worked on nuclear programs, jet propulsion systems. Many of them had been working on projects that many whistleblowers claimed were alien technology. Some of the people of this group actually had worked on much secret technology, backward engineering, this tech. And Carly mentioned it a little while ago, and it's worth looking at. So David Wilcock apparently just went and committed sewage pipes, as did some of the members of this group. So like this is just the 10 most prominent. I think there are about like 15 or 16 of them. They're more than 10. They're a lot more than 10. But I just Googled the 10 most prominent. So there's the Michael David Hicks, NASA jet propulsion. Yeah, I don't know. I think Google's playing with us. They're adding in a couple of these other people that just happen to missing since 2025. Let's narrow the search parameters a little and see what we get. Okay, so we've got William Neal McCasland. So he's a retired Air Force major. A lot of knowledge of secret stuff, right, to do with technology. Melissa Casius, also retired construction foreman from Los Alamos, which is, as we know, an important base connected to underground facilities. Chavez, also, just a lot of these people come from this Los Alamos base, which is actually a place which is well known for backward engineering extraterrestrial technology, for those of you that don't know. And there are more of them. So Google is playing silly buggers with us. But you can go and Google this on your own. There are a number of these people that have scientists that have vanished. And David Wilcock was talking about this, and he was suggesting that there was a connection with the deep black ops, the government wanting to get rid of these people because they knew too much. And big love, the star, namaste. I hope you're well. I hope you're all thriving out there, man. I hope you guys are having a great day. So I think there's definitely a connection with the fact that this is happening, with David Wilcox just, crossing over just a few weeks ago. And all of these shifts that we're seeing now on the planet, this great war that we're recognizing, and, these alignments of these planetary energies. Obviously, we know that these big rituals are done in alignment with astrotheological principles and processes up in the heavens. They like to align their rituals with the power objects that we can see when we look at the sky at night. Something that is a tradition in most magical systems. So we can see that there's this connection here, and there's a lot of dots starting to come together. And I think we can definitely say that there's much more to the David Wilcox phenomenon. And while all of this is happening, we've also got other changes taking place. Lots of changes with, for example, that we might not be aware of. I've got clients that contact me from all different walks of life, and I've been having clients contacting me with regards to shipping. That have got shipping companies, and the world of shipping has changed. The world of shipping is under a big transformation, by the way. And we might think, well, how relevant is that? Well, think about it. All of our resources moving around the planet, big changes in the shipping industry. That's quite a big thing. This war with Iran is having a big effect. And then I've got other clients that work in financial institutions and various different, some of them own big companies, some of them own $100 million companies. And I've been doing what I do for a long time, and I've got a lot of long-standing clients that have come to me for all sorts of advice. And so some of them are politically have been active. Some of them are corporate people. Some of them are I don't judge my clients. You come to me for advice, I'll give you fair and open advice. Who am I to judge? But I've just noticed a trend over the last year that seems to be big changes happening, financial changes that many of us might not be aware of, but they got to do with law, international law, and the way money is moved and the way investment works. Big changes in shipping industries that we might not be aware of, but it's going to affect the price of goods in a massive way. And we're starting to see the trickle effect right now. And so, yeah, man. Yeah, Carly, what's happening in Iran is just absolutely ridiculous. And it really bugged me. I love Cosmic to bits. Cosmic came out with something on my group. And we had this discussion, and I was like, yeah, I don't know whether I agree with the public narrative that, oh, well, Iran's just bombing places where there's schools, right? No, sorry, that Iran was saying that they happen to put their personnel close to where a school is, and that this was just a public narrative to disempower the US. And this is something, propaganda that's been out there. And nobody realizes that all the schools, all the bases around the world in all countries have schools on them and have schools around them. So if you ever bomb a military base, you're bombing schools. This is just how this works. And Iran was freaking out because the US was just bombing all their bases while there were children in the schools, right? And Iran was like, seriously, dude, we haven't even declared, we haven't even we aren't really bombing the US. We've bombed specific infrastructure points. Iran had been bombing the AI infrastructure systems, right? Not places where there's a lot of people, hardware, right? Factories, buildings that run AI systems, big supercomputers. That's what they were bombing. So there definitely seems to be something going on here. It's a political change. It's a financial change. It's a change of shipping. It's a change of investment. It's a change of legislative potential internationally, the way money's controlled. I've noticed even my bank has given me notifications that there are certain changes to policies with regards to money crossing borders that has happened now recently. There are big changes happening right now, and most of us are not aware of it. But if we go and we look at the small print of what's going on, like if you work for yourself and you work internationally and you got to deal with like money crossing borders and stuff, you may have noticed there's something going on, right? Changes in policy. Oh, now you need this and you need this regulation, new regulations. It's like, oh, okay, I've got to do this and this and this now. It's all become biometric controlled. And it's like they really are moving towards tightening up the financial web on the planet in order to get everybody into a net. And I think it's got to do with that digital ID they want to install. They want us all to be registered into their system. And that's exactly what Shinobi was talking about earlier. You know, the citizenship scam and this commercial, the law of the sea that is basically dominating humanity. And we are literally at the point of sinking into the sea as a society, right? Like never before have we had so much access to technology, access to so much food, access to so much, and there've been so many people starving on the planet. It just doesn't add up, right? We are supposedly developing. We're supposedly got more access to better medicine, but we've got like, what is it? 1/7 of the world's population starving. Like, does that even make sense if you think about it? In the old times, if that was happening, that would be considered a catastrophe. What do you think of this notion that they starving the planet?
Starving the planet in all ways. Is that what you mean? Not just food wise?
Well, I think it's a multi-dimensional ritual. The ritual involves literally starving like 1 billion people, right? Literally food, and then starving everybody else in every ways with regulations and controls, yeah, and more laws, like new laws coming into effect in South Africa last year to do with homeschooling that I'm now having to navigate, just for example, and everywhere else. Like if you they're controlling you, they're starving your rights away from you step by step, while they are literally starving people. And let's not forget the inflation game, right? The price of food, the price of fuel, the price of rent. You must be noticing escalations on your end, no?
Yeah, it goes up a little bit every April. Everything always goes up every April. But yeah, people are. I mean, yeah, there's certainly maybe going to be food shortages. I'm going to get this book. I can't remember what it's called. It's something to do with like it's loads of stuff like the Amish do, like how to make a fridge in your garden in the earth, how to make butter that like lasts forever. Just some really interesting stuff. I think that at the moment we're so reliant on the system, like getting food from other countries. We eat so much food from different countries, which is great. But what's happened here in the UK is that we've outsourced everything. Of course, we've outsourced our power, but we've outsourced everything. Like we don't make anything here anymore. It's all made in China, pretty much, and that's been done for a reason. But I think that really, yeah, people, there's going to be issues with water next. I reckon. I can just sense there's going to be issues with water, and that people seem to be a bit dehydrated already. By that I mean disconnected from their emotions. I mean, pharmaceuticals do dehydrate you. Radiation dehydrates you. But I feel that people are dehydrated spiritually. And by that, I mean another word for psyche is spirit, is soul. In Latin, psyche, spelt with a K, K-H-E, a key, is a spirit and soul. And people are sort of dehydrated for that. Like, by dehydration, I also mean food as well. Because if you're able to, this ties in with climate change and transformation of the heavens, because the climate isn't just the weather, it's the psyche. It's our psyche, it's the collective psyche. The weather is the we ether, is that our connection to the ether is the weather, and the weather changes, and we need to sort of understand cycles, like we have the seasons, but also the planetary bodies have cycles, and we have cycles inside us too. And when we're connected to our center, to the central point, things rotate, and we can see clearly these cycles, these patterns. But there's so much done to disconnect us from our center, so we get lost in the patterns that we can't actually see really what's going on. And people have been disconnected from the ether, and that's where we get our energy from. That's where we get our sustenance. That's where we get our spiritual hydration from. That's where we get our food from. Like, I'm sure if you're connected to the ether, you can, I'm sure that being a breatharian is the thing, that we don't really need to eat so much. The point where I'm getting with this is that if you look at Saturnalia festival in Rome, we've been in a long Saturnalia festival for a long time. And with climate change, it's climate chains. They want us chained. So it's really hard to say that's the word. The change is chains. Yeah, it isn't actually a transformation, it's a trance. Yeah, this is what the climate change is, to keep us in chains, in a trance. And this long Saturnalia festival, they've been like pushing in advertising and stuff, buy, consume, throw away society, just basically trying to extract as much energy from us as possible. And at the same time, that being money. And our attention. And at the same time, our bodies have been suffering because we've been feeding ourselves crap, putting crap on our skin, in our bodies and stuff. And then now is a time when they pull the rug from under our feet. Because with the Saturnalia festival, what they would do is they'd let the slaves for a day, I believe, or a weekend, whatever, become the masters, just do what they want. And then they would show the public, look what happens to the slaves when we give them power. And then the public opinion was, oh, yeah, these slaves are better to be kept in chains. That's what's happening now, is that they're pulling the rug from under our feet, that the public perception is, yep, people need to be restricted. We need further restrictions. We need 15-minute cities. We need to fly less, but the elite will still carry on as normal. People aren't annoyed at that. And that all of these restrictions and stuff come after years and years of all this consumption, which people have been kind of co-opted to do. Because in this advertising, it's programming, and it goes into our subconscious. It's making people, like women, not feel okay with their bodies and their own skin. So they have to do stuff, implants, lip fillers, breast implants, makeup, this, that, whatever. There's been a lot done. People eating way too much food to fill the void, the space inside them, because of trauma and stuff. There's been so much done to people, and that right now we're seeing this restriction, this order. So they've caused this chaos. They've caused us to kind of fill this space inside us, which should be filled with our connection to the ether. And they've managed to disconnect that, disrupt our connection to source, and filled us with loads of shit. And then now they're taking that there's going to be food shortages, but fasting is really good for you. So come on, let's weigh up the pros and the cons. Fasting is really good for you. At the same time, people have been eating way too much. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. That it's been a long Saturnalia festival, and that they've made us consume so much, and now they're pulling it away. And it's not necessarily negative. I think that people will find their way. Perhaps people will start relying on systems so much and start talking to their neighbors and start bartering and start sharing. That's the way I see it. Perhaps some good will come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, in the first world, I would say that's probably true, right? But in the third world, where 2.3 billion people, which is 28% of the global population, according to their numbers, I don't know how we can trust those numbers, but a lot of people don't have regular access to adequate food. Most illnesses, right? Why is this not adding to the stage? I don't understand. Oh, there it is. It is adding to the stage. Most illnesses that we have are usually related to malnutrition. People don't understand this. And a lot of it's got to do with, in the West, people are suffering from malnutrition as well, by the way. So in the poor countries, people are suffering from malnutrition because they don't have access to the right food. In the West, people are suffering from malnutrition because they are being brainwashed into eating junk food instead of fruit and healthy things, right? So malnutrition is being sold globally. And what it does is it causes illness. It causes breakdown in certain organs. It causes, and like you say, people will even be eating in the West, but they're not getting the nutrition that they need. And so it means that a lot of people are going to get like these illnesses and diseases that probably could have been avoided, which is going to be a lot of money for the pharmaceutical industry, which is going to increase their you cheeky little bugger. You want to play with the keyboard? No. Which is probably going to have its own adversarial effects. Let me put him down. Go on. No, doesn't want to go down. This little guy's stubborn. He wants that keyboard now. He's discovered my new keyboard. He's very excited about it. It's a cool LED lit keyboard, like one of those gaming keyboards that you can see easily in low light because the other keyboard was just annoying me. And this laptop's got like silver keyboard, which is so annoying because the sheen of the light makes it that you can't see the keys, like what they are when the light reflects off it at weird angles. So yeah, I think like this whole nutrition thing is a big thing. On one hand, we're being overfed. On another hand, some people are being denied access to basics. And then even a lot of the people that are being given food are being given GMO food, right? Which then, for those that aren't aware, GMO farming, what's the big problem with GMO farming other than the fact that it's immoral, unethical, that it's using chemicals that are going to poison us and that it's damaging the earth and stripping the soil of all this nutrition, is that if you're going to take 1 kilogram of potatoes from 1 square foot of land or whatever the ratio is, right? Maybe per square foot of land, you're going to get like 1 kilogram of potatoes. And then if you've got like 1,000 square foot of land, then you're going to get like a ton of potatoes, hypothetically. If you increase that yield with GMO techniques and decide to get 3 kilograms of potatoes per square foot, because you're growing bigger potatoes that have got more water in them, the same amount of minerals that you would have had from that 1 kilogram potatoes is now going to be spread between 3 kilograms of potatoes. So even people that try and argue for the benefits of GMO are not looking at the facts. There's still a finite amount of nutrients in the soil. And because you've got 3 kilograms trying to take out the nutrients, it's going to strip the soil of all of those nutrients. And you're still going to end up with much less nutrients per kilogram of potatoes, which means that the potatoes that you used to eat, that used to give you all the vitamins that you needed, are now no longer going to be acceptable. They won't give you the nutrients, because if the potatoes, modern potatoes, have only got 30 or 40% of the nutrients they used to have in them, you would have to eat double or more than double to get the same amount of nutrients, which is going to affect your system. So it's an engineered way to create malnutrition while making super massive profits for big corporations and wiping out small farmers at the same time, one fell swoop. So you can see it's a huge financial initiative, and it's also an initiative that moves us towards control, because then the farmers no longer have a say, because there's big super corporations that own all the farms, and those big super corporations get to dictate our food in the future, our policies, where up until now there've been a lot of farmers that would have said, no, we're not going along with that, sorry. And so they can't control all of those farmers. So what they do is they take their farms away from them. They put up super corporate farms next door to their farms or nearby. They throw seed into the wind, specifically, probably even using drones, make the products grow on their neighbors' farms, who are like small farmers, then get illegally obtain samples of those farms' plants, and then take them to court and sue them for growing their own GMO crop products, which they didn't plant, which propagated into their soil by wind, and then take their farm away from them by suing them, bankrupting them. And so this is a strategy that's been working out for the last 10, 15 years, and Monsanto's has been behind this. And so they are literally reclaiming the food supply. So all of this has been happening backstage, and now I think it's reaching a crescendo point, right? It's reaching a massive point where they're now inflating the prices and they're playing with the economy, yeah, in a big way. And so we can see the structures around us that are moving towards this sort of deadly empire, the Roman Empire on steroids. I think that's what we should call modern times.
Yeah, well, it's interesting in regards to potatoes. I found out recently that we used to have a lot of yams growing here in the UK, like wild yams, which is really good for it's good for menopause, digestive health, and hormone balance. They were kind of replaced by potatoes. Potatoes seem to be our staple now. And potatoes, I believe, probably contain a lot more sugars than yams. Sweet potatoes are closely linked to yams. We still have sweet potato here, but it's just very interesting that wild yams are very good for hormone balance, because people have potatoes like with every meal. We rarely eat potatoes because it's full of sugar. Not so good for you, potatoes, I don't believe. But yams, on the other hand, they used to grow wild here in the UK, and something happened. They were replaced, and also we have like lots of like varied colors fruits as well. It seems like in supermarkets there's just orange carrots, but we have purple carrots, we have yellow carrots, and people just want to buy like straight vegetables in one color. It's crazy.
I think that's because it's what they offer us. But a thing about the sweet potatoes, the sweet potatoes are way better than potatoes to eat, by the way. And I think they haven't been GMO farmed to the level the potatoes have. So potatoes have been fully GMO'd for like 20 years. The potatoes that we buy now is crap. But the sweet potatoes are also very good for women. Because of the way in which, like you say, hormonal balancing, sweet potatoes still have a lot of goodness in them. Potatoes are like you say, bad.
Are yams and sweet potatoes are different?
They are, but the sweet potatoes are way, 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 way better for you. For example, sweet potatoes. Sweet potato.
Yeah, sweet potatoes are loads better, but yams are more like potatoes, but like way more healthy. So if you're going to have like a mash or something, you can make sweet potato mash, but it is definitely different to like normal potato. It is loads better for you, true. But the reason I mentioned yam and potato is because now we have potatoes instead of yams, because the yams are really good for balancing hormones and stuff. And obviously they want our hormone, our endocrine system imbalanced. because therefore we're going to be easier to manipulate when we're dysregulated.
Yeah, so you can see, sweet potatoes actually good for your blood sugar levels. The complex carbohydrates and fiber prevents insulin resistance. So it helps maintain healthy hormonal levels. It's good for your adrenal health. It's because it's got high vitamin A and vitamin B6. So it's good for you. It helps regulate estrogen levels, especially for women. So the phytoestrogens that the plant compounds have are not necessarily the toxic one. They're good for your gut as well. So they're a prebiotic, sweet potatoes, a natural prebiotic, which means they feed the good biomes. Now, all of this is what yams do, right? And yams, I would say, are a better version than sweet potatoes. But if yams generally are not that available most places in the world, and when they are, they tend to be overpriced, right? For what you're getting. So sweet potatoes is like good value for money and not that much more expensive than potatoes, but like 1,000 times better for you to eat, especially for women and men as well. We won't get our men pause. But but that's just an example. Sweet potatoes these days have got jellyfish genes in them. Yeah, it makes it that you can grow them with less water. Jellyfish from the sea. They've mixed jellyfish genes with potatoes.
Why? Why?
Let's see. Why are potatoes GMO mixed with jellyfish genes? Potatoes have been experimentally engineered with jellyfish genes, the green fluorescent protein. Purpose, the goal is with studies around to create a smart sensor potato that provides a visible signal.
What?
They say it's not in the food supply. Okay, but that's not the only one. No, I'm sorry. Let's just say for low water environment farming. Oh gosh, my typos are all over the show. Let's see.
Create smart plants.
Yeah. That's what they're doing.
Aren't plants already like pretty smart?
So here's the truth. So they give us this BS, this nonsense about smart plants in the story, right? When actually
it says the natural GMO sweet potato. The natural genetically modified.
This is why you got to make sure you get your this is their way of fooling our brains. So what they're saying is the natural GMO is like, if I take a golden retriever and I take an Alsatian and I breed them, I now have a natural GMO dog. No, I haven't. That's a wordplay, right? I've just mixed bred my dogs. But if I take the genetics of a retriever and the genetics of an Alsatian and go into a laboratory and actually splice the genes and specifically reorganize the genes using a magnetic converter that can create the spinning centripetal potential that will separate the genes and refix them in a particular way, that's true GMO. So you see they're playing games. Yeah. The yams were bred, and what they used to do in the old days is they would take a cutting, right? And they would take a cutting of one plant and a cutting of another plant, and they would splice them together and plant them in the soil. That is natural breeding selection, and that has been done for thousands and thousands of years. It's not new. But what they're doing now is they literally isolate the gene from one thing and stick it into another thing. Like you would never, ever naturally be able to splice a jellyfish with a potato, right? Never. But you would be able to take two different breeds of potatoes and take a cutting of one potato and a cutting of another potato and put them together so that you can get the flavor of this potato with the resilience to pests of that potato. Does that make sense? It's sort of like breeding programs as opposed, so they're playing games with us. Like they think we're too stupid to know the difference. But getting back to the jellyfish story, yes, scientists have developed genetically modified potatoes that incorporate genes from jellyfish to act as sentinels for low water environment farming, as seen research. So the GMO potatoes are designed to glow green when the plant experiences dehydration and requires water. So, have you noticed a lot of the potatoes these days have funny colors in them? Like if you've used potatoes, like you got to be really careful. You got to like really check your potatoes. And I wondered about this a while ago, which is why I try and source like local potatoes if I do cook with potatoes, because I try not to eat too many other things. Eat a lot of butternuts. Actually, the sweet potatoes are pretty good. We don't get many yams here, not as a common thing. You can get some yams, but it's a seasonal thing. I think they're imported, which is another thing. When food is imported, it's irradiated, right? So irradiated food is also pointless to eat because they've killed all the natural nutrition in the food by radiating it. You want
Frank,
food that's natural.
I've
Yeah.
just realised something. So we were talking about Sedna and the depths of the ocean, and then I mentioned AI sort of suppressing the feminine, which is water. Well, we used to have yams growing here in the UK, and it was replaced with potatoes. Yam was a god representing the sea and other sources of water. So this is yet another thing for me to add to my list of disconnecting, suppressing, because yam, it is a vegetable, but it's also a sea god. So they like yams are difficult to get, like you say there, and I've never seen one in the supermarket. That's because the name is a sea god. So anything to do with the sea, they've kind of removed. And also, I believe that wasn't yam, like yam is a, didn't yam battle Baal as well, I believe. There's like Baal versus yam. Okay, like in Iran, they've been like burning statues of Baal. That's because they stand on the side of like the yam, the water, the depths, the deep, the dark, the black dragon. I find that so interesting how all these threads fit together, because of course the Baal, the AI, the artificial will have to destroy that which opposes it. You know, the black dragon, the deep, the depths. Also, Yam is a mantra for invoking the heart chakra, I believe, too. Which is interesting. Perhaps that's, I mean, there's other ways to do it too, but that's something I've seen is yam is related to the heart chakra, which is also related to water. And by it not being in supermarkets or shops or readily available, there'll be less people evoking the sea god Yam. Yam. I am. Yam possibly very similar to Ram too. But I find it interesting that there's a connection to the sea god in this this vegetable, which seems to be hidden from us.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something in what you're saying. You know, yam is also the syllable for, it's a bij syllable for the anahata, for the heart chakra in India. If you're working with elemental systems and you're working with tattva energy and bij mantra, so a lot of the And yes, Rachel, how are you? Welcome. Yum. That's yummy. That's got to do with food. That's where the word yum comes from, because the yams were actually damn tasty. The yams are nice. If you find a lot of the traditional yams, they're really tasty. And potatoes weren't originally bad. I mean, I think they were brought over from South America in like the 1500s originally. And those potatoes are not the potatoes we're eating today. I want you to, when I was a child, potatoes were not what we eat today. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. You know, these smooth skin things that they sell as potatoes? They were not potatoes. When I was young, potatoes had a rough skin. So they're different potatoes. And that's in my generation, they've changed. So in my generations, they probably changed from the generations before them. But the potatoes had, like a yam. If you run your finger over a yam, it's got a rough skin, right? And sweet potatoes also have a rough skin. It's got a grainy skin. If you see these potatoes they grow now, they've got like a smooth, slick skin. In my day, they didn't have smooth, slick skin potatoes. We didn't have them in South Africa as a child. We had the rough skin potatoes that are more like a yam. So just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, the potatoes that we eat these days are not potatoes. We just call them potatoes, but they are actually something else. And
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
I was just going to, well, before I sidestep to the name yam, please, brother, what were you going to say?
Well, I just wanted to briefly mention that this relates to Sedna again, because Baal, there meaning Lord, owner, master or husband, and then this kind of battle between Baal and Yam being a sea god, and then Baal being master. The story of Sedna is that she didn't want to marry, and therefore she went into the sea. So it's kind of this opposition to authority, the opposition to the Baal, and to go into the depths of the water, into Yam. So I find that very interesting how this relates to the story of Sedna also. So there's a few different stories, but the gist is that she basically went from a boat into the water and had refused to marry a husband who her father had forced her to. So this kind of opposition to the authority, opposition to Baal. So she went into the water. Whether she chose to do that or not, or whether she was forced, there's a connection here between the water, the sea, and authority. So I just wanted to bring that up because it's just interesting how it relates.
It is very interesting. And yeah, so like looking at the word Baal, and this is quite interesting. So Baal wasn't actually a deity. Baal was a name given to all deities. Uh-oh. Emergency. He's going to go and play with plugs and cables and wires and uh-oh. You'll hear like a exploding sound, and there'll be a singed cockatiel on the table if I'm not careful. You can't play with cables. They've got electricity running through them, my boy. They're dangerous. They're very dangerous. Oh, now you want to run off. Okay. So yeah, the Baal was for some reason they suddenly said the Baal was an deity, specific deity, when Baal was just a title that was given to the supreme deity of the time and the era. So Baal represented many different deities. Just to be clear, people don't really always realize this. But there's another reason I'm bringing this up, is because Baal, I want us to think a moment about bile and bile. So your bile is created by your liver. I think it is stored by the what stores your bile? It is stored by the appendix, is it? Bile stored by appendix. I think it's stored in the appendix. I just want to double check that. No, the appendix does not store bile. Bile is sorry. Sorry, people, my mistake. The gallbladder stores the bile. The gallbladder is related to Sagittarius, just curiously, something for us to think about. But the gallbladder stores the bile. Your gall is, look at the gall on that one. It's courage, right? Your gallbladder related to courage. And your liver creates the bile, right? Now, when the liver is out of balance, right, you become angry. When your kidneys are out of balance, you become afraid. So fear is related to your kidneys. Anger is related to your liver. So bile and anger are connected. Bile being stored in your gallbladder gives you a lot of gall. Means that it's got to do with the planet Mars, right? The substance of the gall. So Mars has got this fundamental relationship with the expansive principle of Jupiter when it comes to manifesting emotions and passions. So there's just something to think about, the connection between being angry and bile production and food, right? And the way our food is affecting our bile. Yeah, brother.
This sort of the anger or the fire of sulfur as well. The sort of like acid, which is what bile is. That kind of acid, the fiery substance which comes up. Also, bile is spelled Bael, is another demon. Like looks like King Charles with a cat on one side and a frog on the other with spider legs.
Show us that image. Go on, we have got to look at it. Looks like King Charles. We've got to see it, man.
Do you want me to share it? Let me find it. Here we go. There. It doesn't look exact. Well, it's a little bit like him with pointy ears, and if he was worried.
I could definitely see that.
Dude in a crown. You've got Pepe the Frog on one side, and then you've got a pussycat on the other, which is interesting because I saw this image a while ago, and I was like, Pepe the Frog, Elon Musk. I say on the right, it's been using Pepe the Frog. And I was like, oh, you have a cat on the left, like pussies. The pussies on the left. And then you have the right wing Pepe the Frogs. And then you have the emperor with no clothes, just spider legs in the middle, wearing a crown. While the two on the side are divided, which is quite funny. But yeah.
And look at the nose on that guy, huh? Yeah, look at the nose on that guy. That's one serious nose. What does that imply? His obsession is with the earth element. Yeah, his obsession with the earth element, and yeah. Your nose is how you smell food, right? Like, why were we given a nose in nature? So that we could smell food, and it would attract us, right? And we were given a sense of taste, which is connected to the sense of smell, so that we could tell if that food was safe or not, right? And so the food would give us the desire to eat more. So you would smell the food, and you would smell like, something smells sweet. This way, let's follow it. And you get there, and there's a tree full of sweet apples. And then you would eat the apple, and you'd start chewing it, and there'd be a bitter taste in your mouth. And you went, oh, this one's rotten. You'd throw it away. And you'd keep picking until you got a sweet taste in your mouth, and then you'd know that you were eating the right apples. So the sense of smell is definitely to do with food, right? That's why you cook with your nose, right? Like it's cooking is a big part of smelling. I always like to smell my food while I'm cooking. I want to breathe it in, smell what it smells like, and then take a little taste at some point. But the smelling is what gives you the idea of what you should do next and what you should not add and what you should add, It smells like this. You go, oh, it needs a sweeter smell. Let me add something sweet to it, or it needs something sour or whatever. Yeah, man, we've been going for a full 2 hours. I do need to get running quite soon. Just giving you a heads up. Sometime in the next little while. I've got a cockatiel trying to look for the button that will bring him upstairs. And he knows the button's underneath my toenail. All he has to do is lift my toenail to get to the button, right? In other words, he has to remove my toenail to get to the button that will take him to the top floor. And he's back now, and he's not interested he's interested in one thing. He just wants to be on that keyboard. Oh my gosh. He's discovered my new keyboard. It was going to happen sooner or later. The buttons are perfect because he could literally dismantle it if I left him with it. He could take the buttons off, and he loves dismantling keyboards. It's like a hobby. Now you see he's trying to dismantle my nails because he's angry because I'm not giving him access. I'm not giving him access.
Yeah? Do you know, the star has said, why are most of the holes on our body on our face? And that's very interesting. Our eyes, like we have two holes here. Well, I guess we have one for the mouth, but two there. But also our eyes are so interesting because we talk. Unfortunately, I missed like quite a lot of the conversation on the Iron Soft on the round table. But our eyes are so interesting because if you look at an eye zoomed in like 1,000 times, it looks like a black hole. Yet our eyes emit light. Do you not find that interesting? Like our eyes emit light. They're known as the windows to the soul, but they're like deep and dark, like blackness. If you zoom in, they take in light, but at the same time they emit light. I find that very, very interesting. And the fact that we have two of them as well, really, really interesting. I've actually got a lamp in the bedroom that I'll take a photo of to show another time, but it's kind of a Moroccan style lamp, like main light, but it looks like an eye. Like the way it's funny because on the sides of it, it looks like sine waves. So it's like kind of like this kind of shape. And on the sides, there are sine waves. But then on the ceiling, the light reflected looks exactly like an eye. It's crazy because, of course, sine waves, sinusoidal light waves like this are related to the eyes. That's how we see, like from waves. It's so interesting how whoever created this lamp has managed to create a shadow, an exact shadow of an eye on the ceiling. So I'll take a photo to show another time. But yeah, the eyes are so interesting. The black light, which draws in, but yet it also emits light too. But it doesn't emit a light which blinds others. It doesn't. Our eyes don't emit a light which it's something to do with the Iron Soft or the black sun or this black light, this light which emits a light, but it doesn't emit a light to conceal anything. It emits a light to observe. Like this light that our eyes emit doesn't blind others, but it emits a light. Very, very interesting. The topic for another time, I'm sure.
I think there's a lot that you're sharing here, and it's quite relevant. And he's being very, very, very demanding. He wants my attention. Otherwise, he starts biting me because he's not getting my attention. And now he knows how to get my attention. Just go straight for the keyboard. He's a little bugger. Welcome, Rachel. I hope you're good. Yeah, the whole thing with the eye as well is the eye of the storm, right? Is where the peace happens. Is where there is No movement. In fact, if you look at, and this is quite interesting, if you look at, for example, I'm going to let him down slowly. There we go. There you go. There you go. If I show you, let's take a look at an image, a little bit of a picture. Say pictures, and let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing it. There we go. So if we take a look at this image here, right? Where is it? It didn't come. Please try again. There was an issue with your file. That's very strange. Okay, image. Let's try again. So I'm having serious problems here with the system. It's not allowing me to bring images, the same image that I always bring, right? Nothing has changed with the images, which is a bit bizarre. Are you telling me that StreamYard won't allow me to? Okay. Wow. So there are problems with StreamYard, and that's quite interesting to see. Maybe I can find another way of showing it up here. Enneagram, just to give you an idea of the relation here. So if we put that there, and then we go to there. Really not cool that there seems to be this issues happening with this platform. It's really annoying because it's the same picture that I often show, and suddenly it says there's a problem with the file. And there can't be a problem with the file, right? Maybe share screen. Okay, we'll try a different way. Window. There we go. Okay, so we can share the screen. You can see my screen here now, right? I don't know if it's come up for you guys. Let me check. Can you see it on the screen? Yes, you can. Okay, cool. So
No.
if you
We can't see anything on the screen.
That is so weird. On my screen, it shows that you can see it.
Oh. Strange.
So, can you people on the in the chat not see the Enneagram on the screen? Yeah? It never loaded. This is so strange, man. This is absolutely bizarre. Because it shows that it's on the screen. It's still not there, right?
No.
Wow. Okay, so there's some massive problem with StreamYard. Interesting. It's actually showing on my system that it's on the screen, but it's not showing on your system. Very weird. But if you look at the Enneagram of number 9, and you see number 9's relation, right? And I should load this somewhere up online so that I can access it online in the event that it does this weird nonsense. You'll see that it's related to the adventure of number 5 and the builder of number 4, right? And it's also related to the number 2, the empath, and the number 7 of the mystic. And so the number 7 of the mystic is connecting to the number 5, right? And the number 2 of the empath is connecting to the number 4. And so that's quite an interesting something to recognize and realize, this relationship between 2 and 4, 7 and 5, and how they relate to the number 1. And obviously 5 and 4 equals 9, and 7 and 2 equals 9, right? And 2 plus 4 equals 6, right? and 7 plus 5 equals 12, which is 3. So you see the 3, 6, 9 association in that little connection between 9 and 2, 9 and 7, 7 and 5, 2 and 4, these double relationships, which makes like a kind of a really interesting little box. So number 9 is thus like fundamentally in the center of this little image, and 9 is what crosses the abyss, right? 9 is what goes to the center. In order to be reborn as a number 1, 9 has to cross the center, and the center is the eye of the enneagram. So the eye is the heart, is the place where there is total rest, epicenter, eye of any storm, everything's spinning around it. So you got to imagine the enneagram as a spinning disc, like a chakra, and it's spinning around this point of rest. And the only numeration that can enter into the point of rest is the number 9, because it's both the end and the beginning. And because it's the end and the beginning, it's reborn as number 1, and all the numbers are reduced to it. So it's just really interesting to see the relationship with Mars, right? Mars and the crossing of this abyss, the crossing of the space, this negative space, which is represented by the plow toe, the plow at the center, which is turning the wheel around the circumference, which is like we consider that as a zodiac. So yeah, it's there's definitely this intense relationship between Mars and the eye in this way, if we consider it in terms of the dynamic structure of existence and the way in which matter seems to emerge from a vacuum, well, not a vacuum, from a 0 point field, probably a better way of putting it. And the 0 point field is the source from whence all of these potentials and numerations arise. Ow, you're getting really cheeky, right? You're getting really cheeky and getting difficult, huh? So yeah, I mean, if there's any last things you want to throw on the table, dear brother, now is the time to throw it.
Yeah, one last thing I'll mention is there's clearly a system in place. I call it a systematic zoo, hence the name of my YouTube channel, Systematic Zoo, because we're treated like cattle. But the thing is, with the system, I've come to realize is a way out of the system is to realize that it's also a psi stem. The psi, PSY, relating to the mind or spirit, and the stem relating to the world tree, Yggdrasil, or our roots. So a way out of the current system is to realize, use our mind's eye, to get back to where our psi, our spirit, our mind, or soul stems from, our roots. Because if we play around with that, a stem is the same as a stalk, and stalks in stories carry babies, birth. So this stalk or stem brings forward new ideas. And when I'm saying stem or stalk or carrying babies or new life, I'm talking about liminal spaces and fresh insight, neural pathways. Because when we create more neural pathways, alter our perception of ourselves and reality using whatever methods, like mine and others, is etymology is a great one, understanding mythology, things like that. We can expand our mind and tap into the all mind, connect to more of our spirit or our soul. So this is very interesting that the psi stem, the stem is also a main central axis of a plant. It's what holds it up. So I just want to leave people with that. Like, if you play around with words, and like lots of us do here, like Tom Rue as well. It's like the system and the psi stem. If you realize that the psi, we have psi ops, operations happening in the subconscious, the hidden. But if we're able to use our psi stem, our own system, using our minds, because really this is what they want to be hollowed out. They want us disconnected to the all mind. They want to mess this up and replace this with artificial, so that we are not connected to the ether, which is the mind, which is the spirit, the world soul. So if we're able to find the stem where things stem from, finding the origin or the essence of language, words, what's going on, find the essence behind it, where it stems from, by using this to tap into the all mind and expanding our awareness, we won't fall for the current system. So I hope that makes sense to people. Like, if you just sort of have a little play with words, you can like keep on expanding, like system, psi, stem. What's psi? What's stem? Stem being stalk. Their story, and then it's like in your mind somewhere you remember, oh yeah, stalks, they deliver new life, babies. But babies are new life, but also so are new thoughts, new insights, new ways of thinking, imagination, intuition, by expanding our mind, creating new paths, new stalks, new stems, new waterways. That's how we connect with the all mind. And this is what this artificial is about, making this not work. So, because this is our like antenna for, or like our cup to kind of tap in to the all mind. Yeah, it's a kind of we use this as an antenna to kind of, you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally, brother. You know, that is the mission. Speaking of antennas and minds and information being local or non-local, if you're running Windows 11, go into your settings, just click settings, and go into apps and find OneDrive and delete it from your system. Remove the app. Remove it. OneDrive. It's mind control for your laptop. They're not just doing it to our brains, they're doing it to our devices, they're doing it on all levels. They will literally try and take all of your images and all of your content off of your computer and keep it on a Windows computer, so that they can come to you and charge you money to expand your OneDrive. And so you just don't want it on your computer. But yeah, you know, they definitely are trying to get in to hack our brains. Yeah, that's the mission. In modern times, they want to hack our brains. They want to get control of our thoughts. They want to basically move us to a place where we are no longer individuals, but we are just, yes. He's been so cheeky this morning, hey? He's moody. He's a moody little boy. Now he bites me because I'm not stroking him enough. Yeah? But anyway, big love to all of you. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. Take it easy. Keep smiling. Hey, you. And yeah, life is short, so don't forget to smile. Why are you so hyper, huh? Ooh, there we go. He's like one of those crazy women that if you stop making love to them, they bite you. Have you ever been in a situation like that? Like that a woman will get violent with you, and when you stop, it's like, I was just checking if you were okay, because like you look like you were gonna like you know, go catatonic, because I just want to make sure you're okay. Like the woman can get, he's like one of those crazy little guys. Anyway, sending you all much love, big blessings. Don't forget to smile. Life is short, and Yeah, keep it real, man. Om Shanti, everybody. It was a lovely talk as always, dear Shinobi, and an honor. And I hope you have a good day with your boys. I hope I can see by the background there, it seems like it's a sunny day, but it's not quite sunny, is it? It's not quite gray. It's not quite sunny, but there's a lot of light.
Yeah.
What is it like? A white day?
The sun, no, the sun's trying to come out. There are actually some proper clouds today. You know, there's not a white haze. There's actually some clouds, but the sun is mainly sunny. I think the sun is trying to break through. So yeah, man, it's still light. It's nice and bright outside, which is good.
So the sun is pulling a Freddie Mercury. I want to break free. That was my first single as a kid, man. That and Laser Dance. Those are back in the days when like it was just all vinyl. Anyway, sending you all big love, big blessings. Take it easy. Keep smiling. Keep the dream alive, and keep your brain stem to yourself. It belongs to you. Om Shanti.